Hey, story time. But one of my favorite stories from Sunday school was the story of Jonah, the prophet that disobeyed God. It all began with Nineveh, the city that had so much wealth, so many people, and very wicked. And doom was about to fall on the city, and God had to send someone to warn these people. And that was Jonah. Then God told Jonah, go tell these people to stop their great wickedness, because they'll get destroyed if they don't stop, yeah? And guess what? Jonah was not exactly friends with Nineveh people. They were sort of enemies, and he did not want to be in that uncomfortable situation where you go warn your enemy over the wrath of God. He decided to flee and try to hide from God. And yeah, dude took the opposite direction of where he was supposed to go, where God had instructed him to go, which is Nineveh. He took this boat to Joppa, paid a fare to Tarshish, and that was an entirely different direction. He got into the boat. He went down in the boat to take a nap. In that situation, he had to take a nap. He had to sleep. And guess what? A great storm started shaking the boat back and forth. It looked like it would break. It looked like it would sink. But Jonah was sleeping, man. Jonah was still sleeping. And I don't know, man, Jonah. The captain had to wake him up. They all gathered. They were looking for the cause of this. They were superstitious people, these sailors. They believed some god was angry. And they did this whole thing of casting some laws. And whoever has the most is behind the whole storm and the whole abnormal situation. And guess what? Most of the laws were on Jonah, guilty as charged. And they asked him, why? What have you done? Why have you done it? Why have you disobeyed God? Like, why? And they started asking if there was a way to make the storm calm down. And then he was like, throw me into the sea. Oh man, these people. No, they tried to sail off, to sail to land to drop him and then continue. But the storm even grew worse. They could not settle anywhere. Eventually, they threw Jonah into the sea, and guess what? The storm stopped completely. Like, it never happened. And Jonah, as he went down into the sea, this huge fish was waiting for him so it could swallow him. It swallowed Jonah alive, and that's a whole miracle on its own. He's swallowed alive. He stays alive in the stomach of a fish, a living organism. But story for another day. Then Jonah was scared. Who wouldn't be? You're inside a big fish. It's dark. It's smelly. He even had seaweeds around him, man. And there's one inspiring thing that he did in that moment. He prayed to God. He messed up. He's in the middle of the consequences of messing up. But he still went back to God. He didn't try to fix things by himself or find a way to get out of the fish or swim his way out of the sea. He went back to God. And he prayed to God, telling him how sorry he was and how he wanted to obey him. And God showed mercy on him. And he spent 3 days, 3 nights inside the fish. And guess what? That was the journey to Nineveh. And the fish spit him out in the land of Nineveh. And then God had to talk to him again, give him the instruction again to warn these people, or he would destroy the entire city in 40 days. Guess what? Lives were saved. Lives were saved. He went back into the place with God where God still speaks to him. Moral of the lesson, disobeying God, knowing what God wants and not doing what God wants. You're putting lives at stake. You will face consequences that is as irrational as being swallowed by a fish. You can as well just obey God. And another thing, if by any chance we disobey God, The moral of the story is that we can always go back to God, and He always welcomes us with both arms. He just needs us to go back to Him and pray and admit that we were wrong. And that's the story for today. See you in the next story time. Bye.